All right, so I saw some interesting news coming out just today. And by the time you see this, it'll be tomorrow. Happy 4th of July. It will be the day, 4th of July, when you see this. If you are watching this, I do want to say that to everybody. Happy 4th. Now, when you finish watching this video, get back out there. If you have kids, hang with your kids. Love on your wife, all that good stuff. Enjoy this time, unplug for the 4th of July, and just enjoy your time. But the Detroit Lions have decided that they're all set at a certain position, and it's a position that I thought maybe, just maybe, they would be looking to do something else, but they are not. They are saying they're absolutely set, and that position is at wide receiver, and I've seen this in a couple places, so we'll look at it. Jeff Risdon said you will not see other wide receivers brought in. Agents have asked. Detroit is not interested in bringing in any receivers at this point. So, what does that tell me? It tells me, and it should tell all of us, that the Detroit Lions are very happy with their pass-catching corps. So here's what we're going to do. In this, we are going to look at the depth chart of the wide receiver. We're going to look at what players are in possible play for it. And then I'm going to go a little bit deeper dive because I don't think people realize just how athletic our wide receiver room is. I don't think people realize the skills that they have. And we're going to go in and we're going to take a look at that and why I think this is a team that could absolutely break out. And then to end it, we're going to look at the wide receiver team rankings from PFF because they came out with their wide receiver team rankings grades. So all of that stuff is pretty good. I will say more of this. Jeff Risdon said, I know they're excited about what they've got in him. All right, they're talking about Jameson Williams, and that's why they're not pursuing any other wide receivers, and you will not see other wide receivers brought in, barring injury, I'm sure. All right, and remember early on when Dan Campbell, during OTAs, was actually talking about Jameson Williams is a man on a mission. Dan Campbell, of all the head coaches in the NFL, he is the guy more than anyone that simply says it how it is. So if he, the last couple of years, is like, man, and Ben Johnson said the same thing a year ago with Jameson Williams. I just thought he'd be farther along than he is. He's not coming along as fast as I thought he would. Dan Campbell's always talking about how he's got room to go, but he's out there, he's trying, and things like that. This year, they talk about how he's a man on a mission, and he's completely changed what he's doing. And I know you can sit here and say, I'll believe it when I see it, and I'm good with that. We're going to talk about a lot more than just him on this. So let's go ahead and do some of that right now. Let's look at our depth chart at wide receiver. I think it's very interesting. When you look at our top three wide receivers, you have St. Brown, Williams, and Khalif Raymond. And it's a little bit unique. And by the way, I'm going to talk about a couple other players that I think make this reason not to go for more wide receivers easier. It's a little unique because you think both Khalif Raymond and Amon-Ra St. Brown are designed to play the slot. I think St. Brown can play outside. I think Raymond can play outside. And PFF numbers kind of back it up for me, but let's just look at this. Then you have Donovan Peoples-Jones. I understand he didn't show out, but I still think Antoine Green has an outside shot of being kind of that third, fourth wide receiver type player. Fourth wide receiver as far as targets, but maybe even the second guy to play on the outside. I think that could be it. You have Traquan Smith, who's a proven commodity that has absolutely done stuff on other teams. And then you have guys that everybody's talking about, Caden Davis, Isaiah Williams, Jalen Calhoun back down here. You have everybody's favorite practice squatter, Tom Kennedy. But here's what I want to talk about that I don't think most people realize with these wide receivers. And it's simply their athleticism. So let's just go through this real quick, and we'll start with the youngest of the bunch, Antoine Green. Antoine Green has a RAS, relative athletic score, of an 8.68. He's the 405th most athletic wide receiver ever to test. And his speed is great. His agility is good, and his size is good. So when you match good size and agility with great speed, you can have a good wide receiver. This is not a guy who should get picked in the 7th round. It just isn't. He should absolutely go before that. He should go before the 7th round. And he didn't. And he fell all the way to the 7th round, but he has the athletic traits of a 2nd, 3rd, 4th round pick. All right, let's see who's next. All right, the next person, we have to go back to the old school 2016 draft class for Khalif Raymond. He scored an 8.17, but his agility and speed grade was elite. The only reason this score isn't higher is because he's small. He's small. He's coming out of a small school. He's a small player coming out of Holy Cross. I just did a whole video on Khalif Raymond and why he's the guy. Not a lot of people watched it, but I did a video. Go back and talk about it. It's something about hiding in plain X Factor, hiding in plain sight. I don't know what it was called. So anyways, we have Khalif Raymond. Again, elite speed. So great speed, elite speed. Let's see who's next. Donovan Peoples-Jones. Shockingly enough, Donovan Peoples-Jones is a top 100 wide receiver ever tested at the Combine. He had a good speed score. He's a sub 4.5 guy. And he had elite explosion, which is why he was a contested catch monster at that 1 year in Cleveland. And no, he doesn't look good running routes. No, he doesn't look that fluid. He almost looks slow, but the speed doesn't lie. It's there. I kind of compare this. We've had guys like Kenny Golladay, contested catch guys. You need them. And if you have him, that's good. His size is really good. His explosion is phenomenal. So, who's the other guy that's sitting here? Oh, yeah, Amon-Ra St. Brown. If Amon-Ra St. Brown is your unathletic wide receiver, you're doing pretty well. And who's the one guy we haven't pulled up yet? Jamison Williams, because he didn't test because he had the torn ACL. So we know Jamison Williams may have been one of the most athletic, probably definitely a top 100, but may have even been a top 50 wide receiver ever tested. He was probably going to be a top 20 wide receiver ever tested for straight speed. So when you look at this, and Amon-Ra St. Brown is your least athletic receiver, you can start to put together and understand why this team stood pat at wide receiver. It's not just that. When you look at PFF ratings with their receiving grade, Amon-Ra St. Brown was 4. Would you agree that he's about the 4th best receiver in the NFL? Probably, right? Sometimes these things are accurate. Last year, Khalif Raymond had a PFF rating of 32nd. That's starting caliber. Really, if you're anywhere in the top, you want to be in the top 64 for starting caliber, but if you're anywhere in the top 96, even in the top 96, if you add slot guys in there, you are sitting there competing, being understandably good enough. 77th was Jamison Williams at 61.8 receiving grade. So when we look at this, we have to understand that there is skill here. It is available. I think Josh Reynolds and Jared Goff had a really good connection. I think Khalif Raymond is better than Josh Reynolds. I think that Antoine Green has the ability to get to where Reynolds was, but faster. Donovan Peoples-Jones, maybe he has the ability to get there, but more athletic and a better contested catch guy. I don't know what that looks like. And I told you I'd talk about 2 guys that weren't in the wide receiver room that are really, really good. And those 2 guys are Sam Laporta and Jahmyr Gibbs. And that is why when you have receiving corps rankings of the NFL, the Detroit Lions, let's see where they come in. You have the 49ers are number 1. Ayuk, Deebo Samuel, George Kittle, Christian McCaffrey. Hard to argue with that. Dolphins are 2. Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle. Devon Achane is good, or A-Chain. That is solid too. Eagles, you have that fearsome twosome of A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. Dallas Goedert's a good tight end. The Bears, I hate having them up here, but DJ Moore and Keenan Allen are the reason for it, along with Cole Kmet. DeAndre Swift, we all know he's not the truth, but he's sitting there at running back. Houston might have the best trio of wide receivers when you look at Nico Collins, Tank Dell, and Stephon Diggs. And then when you have Dalton Schultz, those are good. And then you have the Minnesota Vikings as the last team ahead of us. Jordan Addison, TJ Hawkinson, and of course, Justin Jefferson. And then you have the Lions at 7. I don't think a lot of people would say, oh yeah, the Lions receiving corps. We all say Amon-Ra St. Brown's a top 5 receiver in the NFL. But how many of you would have confidently said the Lions are a top 10 receiving corps? Based on PFF grades and what they have, when you tank St. Brown as one of the best wide receivers in the NFL, and then you add Laporta, You add Jahmyr Gibbs. You had the potential of Jamison Williams. All of a sudden, we are ranked number 7. That is ahead of the Puka Nacua Cooper Kupp LA Rams. That is ahead of the Cincinnati Bengals with Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. Yeah. That is ahead of the trio of Metcalf, Lockett, and Jackson Smith and Jigba of the Seahawks. It is a solid pass-catching unit. That is why the Lions are satisfied with their receiving core. All right, thanks for watching. Again, happy 4th. See what I did there? See you on the next one.